Hi everyone, and welcome to your daily horoscope and tarot reading. Today we have a really powerful and active sky where the predominant energy is that of squares, celestial conversations of tension, friction, and stress, but this may not come as a surprise because yesterday's super full moon in the sign of Libra has brought to the surface from our subconscious, from our psyche, from the most hidden layers of our consciousness, many traumas, many blockages, limitations, and most importantly, it was a powerful purging energy which, under the light of the full moon, has revealed to us where our weaknesses, where our hurts, where our traumas actually lie. And now, today, the moon entered the sign of Scorpio, which is giving us all a perfect opportunity to become that more aware of whatever the super full moon revealed to us in our lives, in our soul, in our psyche, and specific to the energies of Scorpio, giving us the chance to investigate, to process, to draw conclusions, and ultimately to purge, to transform, to eliminate the blockages and traumas, and to accept healing, but that healing is not provided by any other person, it is actually provided by us. So, this isn't an easy energy, this is a rather oppressive, suffocating, toxic energy, but it is our inner poison which is actually eating us up from the inside. But this isn't really bad news because this has to happen. We have to be free. We have to look at life, look at ourselves, look at our inner worlds, at our psyche from a totally different perspective, from the perspective of a person who has obtained healing, who has regenerated himself, who has transformed, who simply managed to turn all the traumas, all the blockages, all the inner obstacles, all the hurts, everything that was repressed and buried in the subconscious into motivation and ultimately wisdom. The conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto in the sign of Capricorn is still an ongoing energy. So Pluto is the celestial alchemist, and it's also the planet associated with psychoanalysis, so it's revealing us the most painful truth. And for many people, this means depression. This means that they may not be willing to accept whatever Pluto is revealing to them, but ultimately, this is a grounding energy. This is, let's return to reality. This opens our eyes to maybe that part of the inner truth which we do not like to look at, because we cannot step into our futures, we cannot expect our lives to be that much different if we do not confront our traumas, if we do not process whatever Pluto is revealing to us. Now, as I have been talking about in my previous horoscopes, on the world stage, Capricorn is centralized power. It is the structure which holds society together. But personally, that symbolism turns into our inner structures, the rules and regulations which we have set up for ourselves, which help us to navigate through life, which help us how to have relationships with other people, especially professional relationships, social relationships, relationships built on the common good and practicality. So, if there are very unhealthy and limiting elements in our inner structures, then Pluto is revealing that to us as we speak. Yesterday's full moon might have pulled very many raw emotions to the surface, but since the moon has entered Scorpio right now, it is giving us the blessing of the investigator, of the detective, of the psychologist, allowing us to have the skills, the clarity, and ultimately the ambition, because Mars is also a part of one of the squares, the ambition to process, eliminate, and ultimately transmute all our limitations, all our shame, our guilt, our self defeating thoughts, our unhealthy personal customs and traditions into freedom by releasing them, by accepting that it is only a construct of our minds, by accepting that the past is only a memory and it has no power over us until we mentally give it that power. So we are the wardens of our own prisons, and this energy is helping us see that, but for many people in a very painful way, in a very emotionally drowning way, where it is their mind that stirs up emotions and programs them with self-defeating thoughts. But if we are aware of this, if we look in the mirror that Pluto is holding for us right now, we can put a stop to it. We can make amends with our own minds and tell it to become our support, to become our friend, to work in our favor. So this is the energy of purge. This is where the sky isn't gentle. This is where the psychological purge comes through as a sense of urgency. It is that this is what we have to do right now, and there's no delaying it. So, of course, many people have moments of defeat. Many people have moments when the pain is simply too much. Many people have moments when the depression drowns them, and all of this turns into what modern mystics call the dark night of the soul. And the T-square that Mars, Uranus, and the Moon hold together is a very heavy but useful energy because it gives us the power to fight. It gives us the power to fight the limitations of our minds. It gives us the power, the courage, the ambition not to allow our shadows, not to allow our illusions, not to allow the inner filth to get the better of us, but rather this is inviting us to take back our powers, take back the authority we have over our own lives and ultimately our minds, and put it to good use so that it can serve our highest good. Now, as I said before, this is really painful for some people, but if you are a person who is going through this purge, know that this is serving your highest good, so please don't fight it. Just process, just reflect, just contemplate and release. Release the traumas, release the memories, release the past and everything that has to do with the past, and know that it is just a memory. Memories cannot hurt you unless you give them the power. Now, there's a totally other way to go about this, and this is a little bit more futuristic. This is like a modern mysticism principle. So it says that when you go back into the past, when you recall your memories, and certain memories hold your soul captive, that is because the trauma, the hurt, the pain, the shock, or whatever, which you lived through at the moment when it took place, when the moment when it turned into a memory was so powerful, so impactful, if it left such a huge scar on you that it shattered your soul, and a little fragment, a little piece of your soul is still trapped in that timeline. It is always 24/7, every single moment of your life, in your subconscious, in your unconscious, better said, is reliving that experience over and over and over again, and that's why it can limit you so much. Now, when you are confronted with that experience, when you're confronted where that shard of your soul is trapped, it gives you the power to take it back. It gives you the power to heal it. It gives you the power to tell yourself, yes, this happened to me, but I survived, and I won't let it ruin my life. I won't let it turn toxic. I won't let it make me a person who cannot find forgiveness and who cannot find peace. Because whatever happened, it's over now. It's just a chemical imprint in our neurons. So it shouldn't be stronger than our present selves. It shouldn't be stronger than our hopes and dreams. It should not be stronger than our self-love and self-worth. And that's why the full moon brought everything to the surface so we can reflect and process it and ultimately eliminate it. And the moon squaring the moon in the sign of Scorpio, the sign of transformation, squaring Mars in Aquarius, which is the sign of the individual, gives us this chance to simply purge it out. It gives us the chance, by becoming aware of whatever happened to us and looking at it with sympathetic eyes, not blaming ourselves, not blaming anyone, not criticizing, just accepting and surrendering, it gives us the chance to heal. Now, because the conjunction of Pluto and Jupiter are in the sign of Capricorn, which rules the bones, it rules the teeth, it rules the skeletal structure, many people might experience during this time really heavy physical pain. And depending on where Capricorn falls in your personal chart, it might transform into different kind of physical pain. It might not always have to do with the skeleton and the bones, but for many people this is going to be a day with really heavy physical pain. Now, the opposition of the moon and Uranus is also a very psychological energy, but Uranus is the planet of epiphanies. It is the highest cerebral activities. It is the divine intelligence. It is the cold hard truth. So chances are that we might have moments of epiphany, sudden realization, where it becomes that much obvious that the only way we can heal is if we get out of our comfort zones and if we have the honest approach to look at where we stand in the present moment from a psychological perspective. If we are healed enough, if we are balanced enough, if we are our own masters and our own rulers, or if our repressed emotions are still ruling us, still controlling us, still deceiving us and manipulating us from the shadows. Now, this isn't just doom and gloom, because we also have beautiful celestial aspects of supreme harmony playing out in the sky, where Venus trines Mars, where Venus receives a trine from Saturn, even though the power of this energy is rather weak and faint, but it's still enough to give us the courage, the power, the self-love, self-support needed to navigate through all this energy and turn it into our highest good. This can also mean karmic rewards, but this can also mean moments of maximum courage. It can mean moments of truth. It can mean finding that inner power to fight the duality, fight the self-defeating programmings of our minds. Now, there's another very powerful and beneficial aspect playing out right now, and it is the sextile Mercury receives from Pluto, Jupiter, but also Pallas Athena. And this is really good energy, both globally, because this means that our scientists, our professionals, our medical experts are making progress, are succeeding, are inspired by divine forces. The collective prayers and meditations and whatever are working. The effort and work of artists and everyone who supports the population through their work and through what they share is working and is producing beneficial effects in the world. But at the same time, this is also really good energy for the individual, because Pluto gives Mercury the truth and the power to heal. Heal our wounds, heal our subconscious, heal our minds, and create a state of harmony. And we are not alone in this, because the heavens themselves, Jupiter, the planet of blessing, is giving us the power, it's giving us the optimism, the hope. It's crystallizing our inner truth, what we want to accomplish, who we are on a soul level, to fight off all the illusions, to fight off all the inner filth, and ultimately to heal, to release, to purge, to create harmony inside of us. And this can also represent a blessing of intuition, a blessing of inner voice which guides you, heals you, having the possibility to connect to really positive, inspirational people, especially online, who can help you, who can inspire you, who can give you that extra bit of courage, that little spark of passion to believe in yourself that much more, so that you can fight off all the psychological limitations that are being pulled to the surface in this present moment. There is also a minor astrological aspect, a quincunx, held by the moon and Venus in the sign of Gemini, and this is also the power of epiphany, the power of revelation, just that it doesn't target as much your mental sphere, but rather your emotional world and your soul. So during today, you can also have really powerful moments of sudden realization, which can help you come up with the most ingenious solution, the most ingenious and unique psychological tactic to heal yourself, to empower yourself. But this can also represent communication, feedback from others, which can be surprising, delightful, but sometimes also awkward. And since Venus is the planet of love, and it has much to do with the matters of the heart, maybe you're going to receive unexpected romantic declarations or romantic surprises, which, as I said earlier, can either surprise you, delight you, or they can be really awkward and make you feel uncomfortable. But this is just a minor energy, and chances are that this is going to create moments of humor, moments of laughter, and moments of lightheartedness in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, giving you a little bit of respite. And last but not least, the Sun is squared by Jupiter and Pluto, and this is a rather heavy energy for the ego, for our sense of self, for our identity, because this can represent challenges. This can represent truth reaching us in a really unpleasant way, because what we project onto others usually might be all of a sudden projected back onto us, putting a mirror in front of us to behold how our actions, how our choices, how our self-expression might influence or might impact other people. So if you see that people are more irritated, intolerant, have less patience with you, that means that you should take a really good look inside yourself and see in which area of your life, in which way are you doing the same. And this can really help you find balance. It can help you take control over what you show to others, what you express, what you project onto others. And the sign of Aries has much to do with the primordial self, with your instincts. It gives you the power to obtain self-discipline, because you can stop yourself from lashing out. You can stop yourself from being impulsive. You can stop yourself from exploding like a volcano when you're triggered. And this is really, really important, because we have to always be in a relationship of equality and equity with others. So we must always give, project, express what wouldn't bother us if other people would do the same to us. But this is just the beginning of this energy. This square is going to get a little bit more stronger tomorrow and after. So take this as a work in progress. Also, one last thing I would like to mention is that Eris, the goddess of discord, also squares Jupiter and Pluto, and this might cause us to rebel against ourselves. This might cause us to be totally fed up with our weaknesses, with our ego crisis, with our, what the ego wants, our needs, our expectations, what we think we deserve. And if those things are a little bit over the edge, if we think too highly of ourselves, if we have unhealthy expectations, then this energy gives us the chance to rebalance that. But as I said, this is a work in progress, and the square between Eris, Jupiter, and Pluto is going to be lasting all year. So there's a lot of time for this. Just that, be sure not to take anything that the sky, fate, physical reality reflects back at you way too personally, because this is not the divine punishing you. This is not bad karma. This is simply a reflection, a chance to see who you are and to give you the chance to have control over what you project onto others. It gives you it gives you back your power basically. It allows you to always stand in a position of power. Yes, it is hard because that means you always have to invest extra energy into being aware of what you are doing each and every second, and it also forces you to observe your thoughts, to see the frequency of your thoughts, to see if it's you controlling your being and what you express, or if it's the chaos of your thoughts. And this is really, really important because once you learn to master yourself, once you learn to control what you express, that means that all your relationships are going to be much more harmonious, and you can identify those relationships which do not serve you that much quicker. And that means that you won't allow anyone toxic, anyone narcissistic, anyone fake or deceitful to trick you, control you, and use you. So, yes, today's sky is really painful. It is deeply emotional. It may be just too much for some people, especially who are vulnerable, especially who have a history of mental health problems or psychological issues or who were traumatized. But this is like the necessary evil. Purge cannot exist without moments of maximum honesty. Pluto is like the celestial surgeon who just operates the trauma out, but that requires us to have patience and that requires us to endure the surgery, so to speak. Now let's get to the tarot reading. And the very first card is the Five of Coins, and this isn't a really good energy because it represents that some people all of a sudden have physical symptoms. They're either in pain or either certain illnesses which are lifelong are going to be flaring up today and the next couple of days. But also for other people it represents a strong sense of worry about their finances, about money, about their material lives, about everything that has to do with material prosperity. And why they're so worried is pretty obvious because of the global situation and the high level of uncertainty which rules the world in the present moment. And this worry, this stress, this fear, maybe some people don't fear the virus that much. They fear what the crash of the economy is going to do to them, because they might have lived totally normal and decent lives before, but now all of a sudden that normality, that decency for the future is not guaranteed. In fact, maybe the total opposite is guaranteed, and this is causing really, really big levels of stress, and that stress can attack the physical body. It can produce heavy symptoms, especially pains and problems with the digestive tract, with the stomach. It can do a lot of harm right now. So it is really advised to detach and just not to think about the future right now. This is the present moment. This is what we have. This is what we have to work with. And you just have to trust yourself. You just have to trust, if you cannot trust anything else, the divine intelligence, that it's going to make it okay. It's going to, yes, it offered us problems. It offered us all the turmoil, but it's also offering us the solutions. Now the next card is the Three of Coins reversed, and this is the card of work. So for some people it's not that much about their material lives, but it's about what they're going to do in the future, because what they have done until this present moment simply lost all importance. It lost all the charm, it lost all the passion, all the ambition. Their dreams and hopes, professionally or work or job wise, have been shattered, but maybe not in a violent way. They just released it, they just let it go. They just realized that, well, their time the precious time of their lives, which they can spend with their loved ones or with themselves, is much more valuable, it's much more important to them than to sacrifice it for something which doesn't even offer them that much stability, that much grounding, that much safety. So the Three of Coins is reversed because they're starting to brainstorm, they're starting to think, they're starting to make totally different future plans. Of course, on one hand, these plans are merely theories right now because the world is so uncertain, no one knows if, or better said, how the future is going to look like. But on the other hand, they're much more connected to their true passions, they're much more connected to their souls, and this is the first time in their lives when they actually get the chance to listen to their inner voice, to look at life from the perspective of the heart, standing from their heart spaces, and it becomes so obvious that whatever they want to experience has much to do with emotion, love, freedom, having valuable, authentic, and honest interhuman connections in their lives. And this means that, for at least for the future, they will surrender, they will actually break up relationships of any kind, but especially work relationships, contracts, associations, partnerships, business partnerships that don't offer them the emotional part of the deal. They might not even be that much interested about money and material well being anymore, but they have found their true desire to live authentic lives where they much rather risk not having the immediate material security but having the chance to truly live, to truly experience what earthly life is, rather than to sacrifice their times all for the sake of the promise of security, which only now is revealed to us as a collective, that promise, the promise our old customs and traditions have made to us, that if we work, if we sacrifice, if we accept to become slaves, well, it will take away our happiness, our joy, our comfort, our emotional values, but materially we are going to be safe. Now we get the chance to see in the present moment that it was always an illusion. And the promise that has been made to us by our traditions and rules, which are no one's fault, because all of us collectively created those. So everyone is to blame, but still, all of us were influenced by the illusion of security, which is no longer real, which is no longer something palpable. Security, especially from the material and financial perspective, in the present moment, is more of a fantasy. It is much more of a fantasy than any other conspiracy theories, because we know for certain that the world financially is going to face a very tough time. It's going to face some very challenging months, and no one has a solution. Solutions do exist, but they are really, really extreme, and they require big organizations. They require the international world to surrender their powers, to surrender their resources, and basically to surrender the benefits, the magic, so to speak, of capitalism, because it's no longer working. Now, the Nine of Swords reversed, the third card, is actually quite encouraging, because an upright position, it represents depression, anxiety, worry, hopelessness, not being able to see the future, not being able to appreciate yourself, and all your thoughts getting the better of you, so to speak. And in reverse position, this means that it's so critical for some people that it's already good, that it's already stirring up the power of their souls, which is telling the mind, stop it, release me, set me free. I do not want to bear this any longer. Do not punish me because I am innocent. You're innocent. And this is one way to stop depression. This is one way to heal yourself. This is one way to detach and just snap out of your own drama and the collective drama and wish proper healing. Now the reading is closed by the Ace of Cups reversed and the Devil, and this means that it is being revealed to us, symbolically of course, that the devil, the energy of temptation, the energy of lies and deceit, is in our mental spheres and it isn't anywhere else. We are the devil, basically. The devil in tarot is the darker side of the Lover's card, which means duality, but in the case of the Lovers, attraction, passion makes that duality act as one. The devil means that it's not compassion, it is not love, it is not attraction which holds the duality together, but it's rather compromises, temptation, which lead to disharmony, which lead to greater suffering, and all of this is in our minds. It is not anywhere else. We cannot point to a statue or whatever that look, that is the devil and that is causing all of this. No. This is the moment when we have to take responsibility that we are the devil in our own lives, and those parts of our minds which always work against us, which are full of temptations, which are full of conditioning, obsessions, very unhealthy desires, unmet sexual needs and fantasies and fetishes, and ultimately that part of our being which didn't receive enough love and now is full of rage, full of anger. And who can it punish? Well, it can punish us, because if we look at this as being the inner child, we are the parents of that inner child, and it was our responsibility all along to treat ourselves, to treat the inner child, to treat the inner Peter Pan, so to speak, as we would have liked to be treated by our own parents and by the divine parents, so to speak. So this is the moment when we have to take responsibility that everything good and bad in our lives is because of us. We have to take the inner critic. We cannot point fingers at anyone. If we have to point fingers, we have to point fingers at our inner devil, at our shadows, at our most corrupted, our most distorted, perverted thoughts. And that also gives us the chance to have power over this. This doesn't mean that we have to banish these thoughts from our mind, because sometimes temptation is actually a good thing, because it determines us to learn, it determines us to make mistakes and learn from them, it determines us to ambition ourselves much more in order to overcome limitations, especially when that limitation is due to an obsession, because we desire something so much we're willing to do anything to get it. And sometimes the price for that is to overcome what we thought about ourselves as our limit. So this shouldn't be really warfare. This shouldn't be you fighting the inner devil as in a very aggressive way, but rather having the wisdom, having the power of the Ace of Cups, the emotional clarity, to know that it serves a good purpose, and as long as you don't allow it to rule over you, as long as you don't allow it to take control of you, to whisper into your mind 24/7, as long as you don't allow to become your obsessions, to become your ambition, as long as you don't allow it to become your desires, especially sexual desires, well then, that's already a path to self-discipline, that's already a path to a healthy approach, that's already a solution, that is already putting you into your position of power, where you are in control, where you can manage all good and bad in your mind, and ultimately, that fixes your life, because it gives you power to know what you project onto others. It gives you the wisdom and foresight to see what others truly want from you, because knowing yourself is also knowing other people. And it gives you the power to make decisions without fear of missing out, without fear that there's wrong and right and all of there's no duality here, and it gives you the faith, the healthy sense of faith, that no matter what choices you make, as long as they come from the heart, as long as they're also rational, as long as they're not something illogical and rather silly, you cannot make a wrong choice, because all paths are going to lead to your evolution, to learn the lesson which you need to learn, to experience what you need to experience. Only the form is going to be different, but that has to do with expectations. And as long as we learn how not to expect something impossible, something silly, something unwise, just because an obsession, just because a desire, just because we see the example of others, well, that means freedom. That means emotional power. That means being the king in your own life, over your own being. And this is what the sky and all the current energies playing out in the world want to teach us. They want to help us find our true expressions of freedom. In conclusion, if we want to change the world, if we want society to be more equal, more based on humanitarianism, more based on solidarity, well, then it all starts by healing ourselves, by making sure that each individual component, each cell, we are the cells, which forms the system, is healthy, and that greater ideologies, greater social goals, greater big projects that humanity wishes to accomplish is going to be executed by healthy individuals who can also appreciate it and invest their passion in it unconditionally. And if this is the world we desire to live in, then it all starts with the self. It all starts by healing ourselves and embracing and embodying our dignity. Thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed and magical day, everyone. Bye for now.